to another video from Munshaw.net, where I'm just answering questions from Irish primary school teachers about technology in education. And I suppose GDPR was one of the big issues for everybody, including schools, over this year in 2018, where everybody had to have new data protection and privacy policies before May 25th. And we were only really getting over child protection policies, new ones of those as well. So this is a big, this is a kind of almost a rushed effort. Anyway, thankfully, as far as I know, most schools would have done that. Some of the more minor little bits of GDPR might have bypassed some teachers even at this point, particularly if you have a school website they haven't really touched in a while. It's important that your website, at a bare minimum, probably collects small bits of information called cookies, and you actually have to put a note on your website to say, that that's actually the case. So this video is really going to tell you some of the different ways you can ensure that you're compliant with GDPR on your school website. It's not that difficult in most cases, depending on how your website is. So we'll just go through each one. I mean, basically, it's very likely that you're one of a few different scenarios. You could have paid somebody to do it. In that case, I mean, it's very simple. You have to contact that person and get them to add cookies to your website. So if you've done that, it might be money well spent. It could be hosted on a site like Wix or Weebly or WordPress.com or any of those sort of sites that lots and lots of websites are. So your website would be like your school name .wordpress.com or your website .wix.com or something like that. Basically, that they're hosting. They generally should have some sort of GDPR compliancy there, where they will put that note for you. You might just check that, but I mean, the bigger the company, the more likely that will be the case. In fact, I think most school websites will be built on massive platforms like that, so I wouldn't be too worried. If you're using something a little bit more I suppose out there or kind of less well known, it might be worth checking. You may have actually not updated your website in years. You might still be using a website that you built yourself in something like WebX5. I don't know if any of you remember that. It's an interesting little tool, well outdated at this stage, but you still see it popping around. I'm not quite sure whether those websites, because they're static, do store cookies, but on the off chance they do, like, it's no harm just putting, this website may collect cookies somewhere and click to agree. I'm not really that sure. If you're even older than that, and you've developed yourself years and years and years before the Dreamweaver was the tool of choice back in the 90s, I'm pretty sure there's very few schools that are still designing their website in Windows 95 Dreamweaver. But on the off chance that you have, you're going to have to just check that it's not storing cookies, and you may just have to program in a notice. You may host your website yourself, and that's probably where most of the other teachers or schools are going to find themselves in, and likely that you're going to be hosting it on WordPress. If you're one out of 8 websites in the world, you probably are going to be hosting your website on WordPress. And really, ultimately, all you can do when it comes to that is this: you're self-hosting, so you're paying a company like Black Knight or DigiWeb or Host.ie or one of these places, and basically you've built the website yourself using WordPress as your backend. You'll need to install a plugin for GDPR compliance, and there's plenty of them out there. Just search GDPR when you're adding a plugin in the dashboard. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, get somebody who does know and get them to do it for you, because it's really important. It should be very, very simple. You could, of course, be hosting your website with a different backend like Joomla or CMSs or providers. So again, they will probably have plugins that will help with that, but again, just check what your backend is and then add your GDPR notice, your cookies notice, basically, on that. I suppose the last option really is if your website is hosted by Skullnet Blogs, and there are quite a lot of websites using the Skullnet Blog service. I've checked in with them, and as of the last time I checked, they haven't got a cookies notice plugin. So they use WordPress, but you have no control. You can't add plugins. So basically, if you have your website on on Skullnet Blogs, which is based on WordPress, you're going to have to call the PTSD Technology and Education help desk and ask them to make sure that that plugin is available to your school, because ultimately it has to be. And I effectively, if nobody asks them, they won't do it. I mean, they often will install plugins on request if there's enough requests. So if your website is on the Skullnet platform, you really need to get going. By the time you've watched this video, that may already have happened, so don't go on my word. Check your backend just to see if they've got some sort of cookies notice already installed on your website. That's kind of my advice for the moment. I've written a full blog post about this on Oddshaw.net, and I hope that was helpful, and until the next time, we'll see you again.